You're listening to the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast, where we invite you to check your ego at the app, grab a cup of coffee, and get ready to dive into all things real estate marketing, social media, friendship, hardship, love, money mindset, and all the things that celebrate you as a badass boss babe.
We're here to encourage you, show up for you, give you a loving kick in the pants when you need it most, and be your soft place to land on the hardest of days. So pull up a seat at our table and get ready to be inspired and start living your best life by design.
Welcome to the Girl Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast. We are so excited you're here.
Okay, girls, let's dive in.
Okay, here we are, middle of summer, Beth.
Happy mid-year, Christy.
That was so aggressive. The sun is shining. It's nice out. We're going to have an amazing barbecue later. Summer's good.
Summer's really good so
really,
far.
Really good. And today on the podcast, we are going to do our New Year's resolution goal intention setting check-in. We did this last year and got a ton of awesome feedback. So we thought, why not do it again?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that you don't think that, like, sometimes you just don't even think about it till the end of the year, and then you're like, oh crap, like, where am I?
When someone tells you to do it again.
Yeah, it's really good to like do it like halfway through the year and kind of just take a little inventory. So that's what we're going to do today.
That's what we're going to do. So let's do it.
Let's do it.
So happy summer, everyone. We hope your summer is fantastic. Goodness gracious, the summer is feeling so much better.
I think what for me is making it feel so awesome is that many times with how wonky Minnesota weather is, you know, like we had a terrible spring, right?
9-month winter, you mean?
Yeah, totally. But then sometimes we have June where it's like 40 degrees all June. I mean, I'm being a little bit dramatic, but sometimes it's like 40 to 60 degrees all June long. Mm-hmm. And the weather has been 90% glorious.
We've already swam in a lake.
It's so beautiful. I swam in a lake this week too.
What?
I went in Minnetonka. Oh my gosh. When I took a half day on Monday and I'm like, yes, it was life-giving. It was like chill for like 1 second and then it was perfect. Oh, I got sunburned. I'm like, yes.
Oh, the sunshine. Woohoo.
I intentionally did not put sunscreen on because I was living my best life.
Oh, that's okay.
I was living life on the edge.
As I'm sitting here with bandages on my leg and my arm because I had moles removed after the dermatologist. I don't recommend that. Anyway, yeah, summer's here.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So back on our New Year's show back in January, you can go find it if you'd like. It's that first week of January. We chatted our goals and intentions for the year, and Beth and I shared quite a bit about how we goal and intention set, like resolutions, all that jazz, and how we do that a little bit differently. So definitely head back to that show if you want to hear a little bit more. But let's start with chatting about like where we're at, Beth, versus what we thought or what we wanted. What do you think? Like
sure.
A little check-in.
Yeah. So how are you? Where are you feeling? How do you feel like your year is shaping up so far?
I feel like my year is shaping up pretty well. Yeah, it feels really pretty good. Last year I shared how I didn't feel grounded at all. I pick a word of the year. And last year I picked grounded and I felt anything but. So if you want a little bit of honesty.
It's like the universe was playing a bad joke on you.
So if you want a little bit of honesty, and I guess the flip of what this year was the year before, that check-in was really, really hard. Our 6-month check-in last year, so a year from now. Yeah. Super hard. And so that I decided to go with grounded again for this year and ease. Yeah. And I feel it most days. I feel pretty damn good there. So
that's awesome.
That's good. Yeah. So I sort of start there, and we chatted about how I intention set more, but I was going to do a little bit of goal setting. So I realized I'm not going to ever write anything down. It's in my head. So this is a thing for me. And I don't know if this is going to be a problem someday. Probably like why I haven't finished Kaya's baby book. I like literally have done nothing in it because like everything's in my head and I don't actually write stuff down.
Yeah.
So I have this like, it sits up there where like, everyone says like journal, or like even my therapist, journal. My coach, Katrina, write this down. And I'm like, fuck, I don't like writing things like that down.
Interesting. I didn't know that about you.
It's so strange because I will calendar and make notes.
I thought I would have never guessed that about you.
To get me to sit down, I want to sit down and just think. I don't know. If anyone else feels that way, let me know, because that would be helpful to feel less alone here. So I realized I'm not going to write it down, but I did have like ideas of like what I wanted stuff to look like. Again, mostly like how I feel. Like, when did I feel my best? When did I not? Made some changes this year, which have really helped. And I sort of like assessed last year when the end of the year was a little hard. The beginning of the year was a little hard. We chatted about that on that last episode. Mm-hmm. And so how to make that not happen and like what that could look like. And so really how I chatted a lot about how I want to feel more so than what I'm like the actual goal is. So I do have some goals as far as like, I want to, make sure like where my time's going, it's like feeling good, whether it be work or personal. So I did more goals like that this year. I still really struggle, and I feel like Beth could probably help me with this. Could you maybe?
With what?
Like actually setting like a financial like number goal. Anytime I'm going to like write something down in my business, like I want to make X amount this year. Yeah. I think it's such a load of bullshit, because I think what it does is it like creates this instant block of that's all you're going to make. Or it like makes you get close and then you never quite hit it. So I can't actually get myself to do it. I'll give myself an idea.
Yeah.
Or a range, but I can't do that final, which is very interesting. I should actually talk to Katrina about this, because I have that sacral gut, that sacral authority, that gut thing. And when it comes to this, I cannot make it black and white.
Sacral authority is human design, by the way, if you're wondering what code she's talking
about.
Human design.
So yeah, I feel pretty good.
That would be a good question for Katrina about like why you have that block. Mm-hmm. Whereas I can write a number down all day long. And sometimes I like pay attention to it and really, really go for it. And other years it's kind of like, whatever, I don't care. Last year, I think, was one of those years.
This year's so much different.
It's like night and day.
I think the energy too of just everyone, which is kind of an interesting part too, like the team, like us, like just people around us. I feel like energy has shifted.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of that has to do with being further removed from COVID.
Yes.
Like much further. And also just maybe some personal growth.
Yep. Some
decisions made, just like being more in alignment with business and life as you get older. I know, this might not be the case for everyone, but I'm enjoying getting older. Really, truly.
Yeah.
And you've said this before, like you're so much smarter. Like it's great. And I think of, not that there's anything wrong with being young. I mean, there's many, many fabulous things. But I just like feel more
age comes wisdom.
Wisdom, and with motherhood and just like who I am, that all feels more easeful. So this year, honestly, it's all going in. It feels good. Everything feels good so far, and last year did not. So I don't have those like really big goals, except for I want to make sure my time is going in the right direction. Like, what does that look like? And I've reevaluated that as I go, and like what my days look like. Do they feel good?
How often do you reevaluate that?
I've probably done it already like 2 or 3 times this year.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
So you're looking at that like every couple of months.
Probably maybe even more so, but like in like a big way.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I also like, I also realized this year that productivity was a problem for me. So we can talk about that more later. So there's been some growth there that I wouldn't have even thought of, I guess. Yeah. So I feel pretty good, going in the right direction. As far as those like big tangible goals, I still don't have them. But I have ideas. I have ideas of kind of where I'd like to be and go and that sort of thing.
Well, so I'm the one that usually writes down all my goals. And I'm just going to go out and tell the world that I haven't written down anything this year. Not one thing.
Nothing.
Not one thing on a piece of paper about goals this year.
Okay.
I have numbers in my head, like what I want like the team numbers to look like. But I haven't written it down anywhere. We've talked about it in our leadership meetings.
How do things feel?
Like 8,000% better than last year.
So what you're saying, Beth, basically is that I was like really onto something with intention setting. and now you intention set and just leave it open and it's working.
I don't even know that I've specifically intention set.
You let the universe just
I don't know what it was. I don't know if I'm like thinking like, oh, maybe I'm gonna like jinx myself or something. I think coming off such a rough year last year, and we started it was a little bit bumpy at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, no, like I like physically, emotionally, spiritually, I cannot go through a year like that again. I don't have even the bandwidth for it, even sort of. So I don't know. I think I had just made the mindset of like, this has to look different than last year. And I got a therapist last year. So I continued therapy like near the end of last year, and I continued therapy this year. But
shout out to therapy.
Right. Oh. You know, I was a little bit worried, like when my sister died, that would really derail things. Mm-hmm. It did not. And I think the big reason is because I got it back into therapy right away. I said, oh yeah, I'm feeling good. So like, I think let's just take a pause and then.
Well, and grief comes when it comes. Yeah. Right. So it's like an ongoing.
Yeah. And that's really weird. So I think that's just happening regularly. There's just things that will show up and I'm like, I think that's grief. I think that's what that looks like right this second. But like recognizing it doesn't mean that everything else has to fall apart. You just like work through that emotion at the moment, but you're still doing all the things. I'm still living my life. I'm still working out. I'm still trying to eat better. I'm still trying to like be a great agent and mentor and friend and all those things. Wife, daughter-in-law. So yeah. But like the word that we keep talking about in our leadership meetings is ease for the summer. And it feels that way. We're still doing all the things, but it feels like it's not hard, which ease feels like the exact opposite of that.
I could cry just like thinking about how things don't feel so hard. This is interesting, this sidebar. I just was talking to Katrina, my coach, about like feeling like I wasn't doing enough.
Yeah.
And like just trying to ground myself again. Like, no, you don't need, like we all intentionally as a team, or as leadership, we intentionally just like took our foot off the gas for the summer. We got everything in place. We hustled end of second quarter, really first and second, to get things in place so then we could, press play and then have more space this summer. Because last summer we didn't really do that. We just kind of kept going.
It was a bootstrap shit show. Like we barely muddled it together. We tried to MacGyver the year together last year.
Yeah, and so we're not pumping the brakes. We're just taking our foot off the gas, and we're gonna let things flow. And so for me, as like an overproductive person, yep.
You and I are the exact opposite in that category.
I'll get like.
I gotta do more.
Yeah, and so I'll try to fill it, and then I let it go. So I was actually just talking to Katrina about that, of how I make sure I don't panic in those moments.
Yeah,
because it's a new area for me to be in. It's very weird.
Better you than me. I'm the procrastinator. I'm learning more about procrastination that I don't know that I'm happy to find out, but it is what it is.
So you didn't actually write down any goals this year.
So my goal was to write down goals. I haven't written any down. And then writing the love letter to myself like it's the end of the year. Yeah. I literally didn't do that. I haven't done any of that. And the year is working out fabulously so far. Business is great. The team, everything with the team is going great. The team is growing and the agents are growing, and I think it's going great.
We're also starting to see things that we've been working on for really a couple years now, like starting to we're getting the benefits of those.
Yeah, the fruits are coming.
Which is super exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that you will write goals down now that we've done this show and we're halfway through? Or do you think you'll just let it go?
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that I feel like I should be doing that I'm not doing right now. And I'm like, it's okay. Life still goes on.
So I was just talking to Ryan this morning and about, you know what, can we just put these conversations about like anything financial, anything about, house, financial, big plans that we have, can we put those on hold until September?
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure that I'm staying really present. And we've talked about this quite a bit on the podcast. And if you're from a cold weather state, you will know the summers are
Precious
it's magical.
here.
Like it's precious. And I'm like, I feel like we've had many conversations that have not been in the now. And this is, for me, it just was feeling like it's not the time to be having any of these conversations.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a good chance come fall, I'm going to start maybe planning the rest of the year, or like, I don't know. I think it's going to look different this year. Typically I visit goals or like intentions in November, which is what I've shared previously on the podcast.
Yeah.
And last year I did not. I didn't do that at all. And I didn't have a word of the year, I don't think, until I kept grounded, but I didn't have the ease until
I think
March.
we were into the new year.
We were into the new year. So, and then I was like, that's it. This is what I want to feel.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I started feeling it.
Yeah.
And so it's going to look very different. We talk a lot about how January 1 isn't a magical number, even though we give it so much power.
Way more than we
much power.
should. Yeah, I always feel like I'm failing just right out of the gate if I don't do stuff at the beginning of the year. But like, there's no rules. Like, who says that it has to be done? That it can be done whenever the hell you feel like it.
It can. So if you're listening to this and you're like, either heck yeah, my year is going awesome too, or flip side, you had a year like we had last year, and you're like, oh, this year is not going and I feel overwhelmed and like a failure and I didn't write those goals down, or the goals you wrote down don't even make sense. Like, you can just start over.
Yeah, literally like burn that shit and start over. Throw
Yep.
it right in the fire pit and start from scratch. Like, why not? There's literally no rules to it, and it's your life. Why can you not, like, if anyone's trying to like make you feel bad about things, like, this is all up to you.
And if
what
you want
feels good for you.
If you want a goal set, you can literally start goal setting now. You can do it next month. Making sure that you feel like you're in alignment and in the right headspace for it.
Right.
Is we shared quite a bit about. That's like one of the most important things when you go to do it. I also love, Beth, that you shared that you will like that letter that you write that you said you didn't write.
Yes.
But I love that so much last year. I'm kind of kicking myself for not writing it. I think I might do it.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, why not? You just write it as if it's December 31st.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it still.
Yeah, I probably should, because like anytime I've done it in the past, like, I love reading them at the end of the year. It's really pretty cool.
We should do it. And then, okay, who else
Compare
wants
notes.
to join us? And then maybe we can share it. That would
Sure.
be super fun, or like snippets of it if it feels a little like
personal or whatever.
not everything we want to share. But that'd be kind of fun. And maybe we can
Yeah.
have some of our audience share it. That would be so fun if the listeners would also do that. So if you think you haven't written a letter yet, you like the idea, write it. And then seal it, right?
Yep.
And then maybe in the beginning of the year, we can revisit together.
Yep. You're writing a love letter to yourself as if it's like the end of the year. And then all the things you're really proud of. And what the intention of the letter is that just like jump kicks the manifestation of just bringing it all into being. It's pretty powerful.
It's really, so something I've noticed about you, my friend, this year.
What?
Is you're like, you feel your energy feels calmer. And you were never like not calm. I mean, I'm married to Ryan, who I love you, babe. He's not calm in general.
Yeah.
He's a little bit more like high strung kind of person. Like he's
Yeah.
more chill now than ever before, but he's like not chill. Your energy feels more like flowing
Yeah.
and easeful. Maybe calm's not the right word. Like you can feel it. I feel like you're putting it out there and it's coming back to you.
Absolutely. 1000%.
And that's amazing. It's
But
amazing
this
to
is who
see.
I am at my core. Yeah. And so then I was like, fuck, I was not like living my true self this last year for sure. But maybe even the last few years, it was more like survival mode or fight or flight or something. But it didn't feel good.
It
for
feels,
sure.
the energy is noticeable.
Yeah.
Like you would never be able to tell otherwise. You'd have to be able, it's like a feeling.
Yeah.
It feels different.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yay. Thank
Yay.
you. Yeah. Thanks for noticing that.
Mm-hmm. So one other thing that we talked about a lot was when you plan these goals. So if you are going to sit down and revisit goals now, or you're going to set goals or intentions now, or you're just looking at the ones that you wrote, is making sure that you leave space in there for the universe to show up and do things, which I think you did this year quite a bit of.
And probably by the fact that I haven't written down any goals. Like, I just am like, universe, bring me good shit. Like, I don't need any more stress. I don't need any more grief or sadness. Like, that just keeps happening with outside of my control. But I'm like, I don't need any more of that in my life.
Yeah, it's not like this year has necessarily been easy.
No.
You've just operated in a different space, it seems
We
like.
literally have had like 7 people die close to us. And I'm like, but I am not letting that just like have me spiraling the drain.
Give
know.
us more of your wisdom.
Well, I mean, that just feels like a growth thing right there. If all of these people had passed away when I was in the state of mind I was in last year, I don't even know where I'd be. I'd probably have to have a therapist on speed dial at all times.
Oh my gosh. I feel like that would be helpful just in general in life. You could just like run something by them.
But like, you know how like you know, like the universe kind of gives you what you need when you need it. I think I needed a hard year last year. And I like that, you know, it's probably harder than I would have wanted it to be. But like, look at all the personal growth that came out of it. So I'm not going to say that was bad. I think every single thing in life, get a little choked up.
I'm like starting to cry over here because this is so real.
Well, because it gets you to where you're supposed to be. It adds to my personal resume of life. If everything's fucking easy all the time, you just don't appreciate things when they're hard. Or you don't know how to deal with them when they're hard. I've had plenty of hard in my life, but I think that makes me who I am right now.
Yeah. I would agree 100% and feel the same exact way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, can someone bring us some tissues? We don't have tissues. It's
You're like,
summer.
"Crap.
We don't have tissues.
Why are we crying?
So one thing that I made sure was on my like list this year, which that all kind of makes me think quite a bit of that, is making sure that I have more space because like I am such a doer.
Yeah.
And like
It's funny that you're like, your coach is like, stop doing, like take a pause.
I had so much
okay.
anxiety, like the beginning of the, beginning of the year, I had so much anxiety with like any sort of extra space or carving out more space, or Kai is getting older. So there just happens to be a little bit more space. Right.
Yeah.
And shit, what? Like I don't just pack this with stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that is what's helping me feel grounded and more easeful. Just that, even though it also makes me, I'm doing better with it.
Well, and how fun is it that you're giving yourself space for life to just show up and like show you extra like magical things that you may have not taken the time to even notice before.
Yeah. It's like what you were saying, like when you just like the universe just kind of starts happening when you let it, right?
Right.
And so that just made me think of that because you can't force it. You can't make that happen. Like I could have planned the time out in my schedule, or I could have just...
I don't think that's what you're supposed to be doing. I'm going to plan some time to be mellow and not to do anything.
Oh,
That's
so funny.
not how it worked, Christy.
Oh, gosh.
So funny.
Okay, so if you're feeling like, again, that you're not quite where you want to be with your goals, or maybe you are, but you want to push yourself a little bit, like you've talked about in the past, Beth, about revisiting halfway through. So then if you've met your goals, or you're close, push yourself more. Like,
love that.
Taking this time. And something you did mention, I went back and listened to this episode before we recorded because I wanted to just really remember what we said because, you know, I don't write anything down, even though I am always writing things down, is the like, giving yourself grace and taking the pressure off. So I really, really like that. And that's like how you approach this check-in time too. Like that really resonated with me because it makes so much sense that you don't feel that guilt then if it didn't happen yet. Mm-hmm. And then you don't feel the pressure to make it happen. Maybe you reevaluate and change things.
Well, yeah, what felt good in January might not feel good in June. And it's okay.
Yeah. So it's like holding yourself accountable still. Like you can't just like give yourself a pass with everything. You do have to still make things happen. You can't just sit back and the universe just does everything for you. You have to be a present, like active participant in what life is. Yeah. But checking in and asking yourself like, when did I feel best? When did I not feel best? And when did I do the work that I love? When did I not do the work that I love? How did it affect me? How did it affect my team if I have my team? Where do we miss the mark? And like, how can we learn from here, but not beating yourself up, more like a reflection of seeing where you're at, which a year is a really long time. It's not a long time, but it's also a long time to just set that and then leave it instead of revisiting.
Right.
In fact, honestly, probably should be more quarterly.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like if you're a person that's constantly like tracking, like from a business standpoint, if you're like tracking numbers, or if you're that person that's like tracking healthy eating and working out, you're probably looking at these numbers more regularly. But then, quarterly or once, midway through the year, then it's an extra time to be like, okay, is this feeling good? Are you doing all the things? Are you not doing all the things? And just make the changes accordingly, or don't.
And you also, Beth, had shared that like not making them too literal was really important. Your goals, like you can have those tangible goals, but it can actually like screw with your mind a little bit. And I thought that was like, that feels so much more of like how I think of it. Like when I think of, I can't grab that number, right? I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds good. Or like this would allow this, but I can't get so set there. I'm so turned off by doing that because I think it does like mess with my brain a little bit if I try to do that. So like, it feels like it's getting in my own way. If I were to do that.
You're limiting your potential sometimes.
Yeah.
If you're like pigeonholing yourself so much.
Yep.
Like I have to just do this and this and this. And I think as entrepreneurs, sometimes we kind of get in our own ways of like, this is how I make a living. Well, there's like a million different ways that you could make a living, but sometimes they're just not obvious to you or me, for sure. And it's like, just like letting the universe show up of like, oh, this could look 100 different ways. It doesn't have to be just buying and selling real estate. So interesting. I was on like a mastermind call recently, and it was all about like all the different ways that my business partners are all making money. And they're like, yeah, they're like, real estate is just like that, is the vehicle. And then there's a million different bus stops along the way where you can get off and be like, oh yeah, I can make money doing this. I can make money doing this. And so, yeah, sometimes just in life in general, you're not allowing the universe to bring you more ideas and more creativity because you're so hyper-focused on it only is done one way.
That also is a really good way to throw yourself out of alignment completely.
For sure.
I think that's, for me this year, that's the biggest change is I actually feel much more in alignment.
Yeah.
I feel grounded in alignment.
Yeah, that's noticeable.
It feels like I feel that from you much more so this year too. So one thing that I always go back to, and I do think we touched on this on the New Year's show this previous year, was when we had Allison Burns of Allie Marie Design on, who's a good friend of mine. She shared that saving that like worse energy for your family. So like when you carve out like, I'm going to do XYZ in my business and I'm carving out this time for my family, but you're like burnt out, exhausted, you don't feel like yourself, you don't feel good. And then that's what they get. That was a really big eye opener for us. We both, I think, shared that.
Yeah.
Like it was really big eye opener because just because you're giving them the time doesn't mean it's the best time. And so when she said that to me, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I think that was a huge eye opener for me last year.
Yeah, you're giving all of like your good energy and your positive everything to people that are not maybe your inner circle people. And then your loved ones that should be getting all of that are getting like the leftover shit. And they're like, wow, this is how you're showing up for us and everyone else gets the good stuff. I loved that one. I don't even remember what podcast one of them that you guys had.
It was her second show the Evergreen Business, building an evergreen business.
That was awesome. Check it out. That was probably my favorite takeaway from that show. It's like, this is like a mic drop moment for sure.
It definitely was. So really, I think focusing on that and keeping that in the back of my mind too, is moving forward has helped with that grounding. Really. Okay, so let's share if you are right now like wondering what to do next, if you should goal set, if you shouldn't, if you should reevaluate, like say you want to write these down or you want to at least think about them. Like let's share some actionable things that you can do right now, and screw that it's the middle of summer. Like just do it. You can do it whenever you want.
Yep. So first of all, like start meditating. Like find some quiet time in your day. For me, I like quiet time of the morning when my house is really still quiet and peaceful. Mark is still sleeping. Kitty's still pretty chill. Like meditate, go for a walk, just like get outside of your head.
Just breathing. If you can just do 5 minutes. So they have proven that 5 minutes of just breathing, focusing on your breath can be the same as meditating.
Yeah.
So if that's what you can do, you can't get in that space, just breathe for 5 minutes and focus on your breath. Do something to like get you out of your head. Yeah.
Huge. And write down what your perfect day looks like. And just like get a piece of paper and just start writing until like your hand is cramping. And you'll be surprised at like just like the kind of like that word diarrhea on a piece of paper and like what really comes to the surface. Yes. It's a really powerful exercise. It
is so powerful. And this is the one thing that Katrina can usually get me to write down. She doesn't use it a couple times a year, but it was really helpful too working on my own brand this year as well, was being able to write down that perfect day and that sort of thing.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. So next thing is, ask yourself, when did I feel my best, both personal, business, with my family, and like when did I not feel my best? When was I out of alignment? So ask yourself that as the next thing to do.
That's huge. Mm-hmm. Then write down different areas of your life where you want to see growth, like personally and professionally. And then then you know, like when those two are in alignment, like you know you've like meshed it all into one. So true. So true. And doing it both personal and professional is so important. Yeah, because those are usually so different. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people just are only focusing on professional goals or just personal goals. And I feel like both. I mean, we spend so much of our time in our professional life. Like, why would you not focus on both areas? I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not. You don't even have to be an entrepreneur to do that.
No, and it's literally the only way to get into alignment.
Yeah.
It's just doesn't work. One or the other, has to be both. So this is something funny. Now this next one here is to write your goals and intentions down for the year, both personal, business, and the inner stuff, and schedule your accountability check-ins. So here's me saying I don't write things down.
But this is our accountability check-in.
Yeah, and
we got that check.
And I would calendar my accountability check-in, something I'm working on. But like looking in the mirror and doing that inner work is the hardest work we do. Like I will go on record saying it's the hardest thing that we do.
Absolutely.
And so really making sure that you write down the intentions for that as well. It will just be really helpful when you're setting goals or those intentions for the rest of your year moving forward.
And then give yourself some grace and space. Let go of the stuff that's not serving you and then just see what else shows up. You know, sometimes Christy is probably the perfect example of this, where she's like wants to fill all the hours of the day, or she feels like she's maybe like not doing it right. Well, I mean, what if you just had free time in your life and you could fill it up with goodness and all sorts of stuff that you weren't expecting?
This is seriously I'm working so hard at this. When
I know
you say it still gives me a little bit of anxiety. And then
I know,
like, but before I would like start sweating. So it's I'm
progress,
working
baby
so
steps.
hard on it. And then I think one more really big bonus thing we could say here is like sit down with yourself and ask where your energy's going. This is a big one, like figuring out where you can carve out time and use your energy, where it can serve the people you love, like that really big energy where things start to come back to you. So like serving yourself, the people you love, that work that's really in alignment. Where's that energy going where I feel so good? Because that's when it starts coming back.
Totally.
And that flows back in. So yeah. Whew. Halfway through the year.
I know. It's shocking and exciting.
It is.
It's a super awesome year. I think my business is like feels the best that it's ever felt.
Oh my gosh, that makes me want to cry.
Yeah.
That's so
like
amazing.
I've had bigger numbers other years, but it has never felt this good.
Oh.
And it's huge. And like my holy grail of real estate has always been to have more listings than buyers. And that's exactly what I have right now. And I'm like, oh my God, now I get what all like the OGs talk about when they're like, you need to be a listing agent. It will change your life. And being, like probably 75% listings, 25% buyers this year has been an absolute game changer.
It's also something to note there is how conversations have shifted because of that. because of this alignment this year and ease, and the things we're talking about and the ideas we have are all shifting too, which is super cool.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I know.
But I should probably write something down. We'll see if we get around to that.
We'll see if we get around to it. If you do, let us know. Write that letter though, so we can check in together in the beginning.
Yeah, we do need to do that.
We would love that. That'd be so much fun. So happy mid-year goal setting. If you aren't where you want to be, that's okay. Like, take a deep breath and move forward from here. We see you.
We definitely see you.
Yeah. So happy summer.
Until next time, bus bench babes.
Remember to keep your face off a bus bench.
And keep being the badass boss babes that you are.
Okay, girls. Are you feeling as inspired as we are? We're over here cheering you on because you just finished another episode of the Girl, Get Your Face Off a Bus Bench podcast.
If you want more, head over to girlgetyourfaceoffabusbench.com for show notes and more episodes. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. They mean the world to us, and they're what keep us going.
Girl, thanks for being here.